What you're about to hear is part 4 of a multi-part series on no-holds-barred fighting in America. I'm your host, Patrick Euclid. Previously, on the Cage of History. On the night of the Ultimate Tournament, December 16th, 1995, Tyson vs. Mathis was broadcast live on Fox. So, of course, like most people who had to make the choice between picking up the phone and purchasing a pay-per-view and just leaving the TV on the Simpsons/X-Files channel, I took the path of least resistance. Oh, Tyson lands a volley of uppercuts. Oh, and he's knocked down Buster Mathis as he landed a 4-piece of uppercuts. Left and right uppercuts. And Buster Mathis has been counted out. Tyson's immediately met him in the center. Tyson was still the king of pugilism, and the established powers that be, they said, long live the king. So, for the foreseeable future, the Frankenstein's monster that Art Davie and Associates had brought to life lived in a world where it would see no mainstream media exposure, and resistance even on the fringe of entertainment outlets. But even on the fringe, there was always some place you could go, behind a beaded curtain in a badly lit back room, and find a VHS tape of anything. And in the video store, right there on the shelf, right next to the UFC, was some knockoff called Extreme Fighting. And it looked cool, I guess. I don't know. The mat was yellow. I put it back on the shelf and rented the Ultimate instead.
Alright. 7 has always been my lucky number.
Episode 4.
Come over here, you hot monster. Where are you going?
The first climax.
Oh, you men are all alike. 7 or 8 quick ones and you're off with the boys to boast and brag. You better keep your mouth shut.
To the UFC purist, and in only 2 years the sport was exploding at a rate that made such a thing possible. To the UFC purist, the Superfight belt was not the peak of championship in this new world of NHB. It was still the 8-man tournament, which the Superfight champion had never managed to win, and this roster was the toughest possible, missing only Royce Gracie from the field of former tournament winners, Keith Hackney, Paul Varelans, Tank Abbott, Steve Jennum, Dan Severn, Oleg Taktarov, and Marco Ruas, all vying for the same tournament title, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. As an homage to the origin, it was held in the mile-high city of Denver. So, nobody wind yourself with an exciting pace or anything. The native Colorado kickboxer, Pat Smith, who had gone something like 4-2, and had come in as the runner-up in the second tournament, was initially scheduled as an entrant. But, somehow, he failed his pre-fight medical screenings. And let me just say, at this point in history, those are not terribly stringent tests. The Superfight champion, Ken Shamrock, would not appear in the Ultimate tournament, having just fought in Japan 2 days earlier, along with a large contingent of his team, the Lion's Den. He would, however, appear cage-side, as a color commentator, in the final fight. Before I get into the action, I just want to take 2 seconds to bitch about the matchmaking. I wouldn't have made any of these first-round bouts, but, as it turns out, I think that, however that's done, the conclusion to this tournament was inevitable. I'm just saying, there were more entertaining routes, alright? This was like the prom night of big events for the UFC. For however awesome and special it was, they could have done a lot better. The first fight in the opening round is
in the opening match,
Tank Abbott versus Steve Jennum.
looking bored. Steve Jennum
Still looking like Val Kilmer's retarded younger brother. Or maybe older brother. This is 1995 here. I would have made Tank Abbott versus Dave Beneteau. Both Jennum and Abbott are sporting the gloves. Oh, did I forget to mention? Rich G-Man Goings, the announcer. Dave Beneteau does John McCarthy's tagline for him. Also in this tournament. As he announces him into the cage. Great going, Rich. Tank Abbott outweighs Jennum by a good 60 pounds. And the action begins. Tank crouching forward, heavy on his foreleg. He drops a right hand over the top and takes Jennum to the mat. In Jennum's half guard here. He's pushing Jennum against the fence now. Still in a deep half. Jennum has an overhook on Tank's left arm. And he has so far not thrown any punches. Alright, Tank's got inside ties. He's looking at posture. With... Oh, Jennum pushes him up in a TP. Oh, he spins out. Good defense here from Jennum. Tank back down into the full guard of Steve Jennum, who has so far avoided any punches at all. Tank Abbott now squeezing Jennum against the fence, and he looks to throw some lefts, but they don't get through. Oh, it looks like a neck crank here. Oh, Steve Jennum is tapping. The chain links were so loose that Tank Abbott was able to push his head through them and get a neck crank on him. The second match of the opening round featured the Beast, Dan Severn, whom I would have matched up against the king of the streets, Marco Ruas. Instead, we see him versus the polar bear, Paul Varelans. 3-2 in the UFC, coming back from that brutal low kicking by Marco Ruas. Dan Severn, slapping his skin, getting himself ready. Neither man wearing gloves. Varelans has a 6-inch height advantage, 45-pound weight advantage. Varelans charges across and attempts to deliver a low kick. Severn immediately takes him to the mat and is passed into side control. He's in the scarf hold here, pinning the arm over. Dan Severn with a gable grip, and underhooking the far arm, cross-facing the head. He's attempting to get that side arm choke, that arm triangle. Can't get it. He's clubbed Varelans' head down. He's attempting to choke him out with his elbow. Oh, he's attempting the neck crank here. In the scarf hold. Oh, he's got the arm triangle now. He's got it cinched up. Varelans is not defending properly. Varelans is tapping. The Beast has choked out the polar bear. Under 2 minutes. In the third bout, Oleg Taktarov faces off with Dave Beneteau for the second time. Going into the ultimate dangerous, Dave Beneteau has a 2-2 record in the Ultimate Fighting Championships, and he's in the ultimate. Oleg Taktarov, winner of UFC 6, a dead look in his eyes. The Russian bear. I would have instead pit Oleg against Steve Jennum. And the action begins. Taktarov stalks to the center and throws a left hand into the clinch. But Dave Beneteau, Jennum, had instead been tanked by Abbott. A tie on his arm and an underhook on Oleg's left arm. Oh, they break the clinch. Beneteau with the jab. They come back into the clinch with the straight hand. Beneteau is looking to and the leg punch. Taktarov would catch Beneteau. Collar tie here. Oh, a knee to the groin from Beneteau. Beneteau attempts a single and submit him quickly. Oh, nothing. For the second time. Taktarov barely had to defend it. He's attempting to expose Taktarov's back and take it in the standing clinch.
Taktarov is a big overhook for some reason. Oh, he rolls under for the leg. Beautiful salvo technique from Taktarov.
And actually,
he's almost got the heel hook.
it was by Achilles' hold,
Oh, there he goes. He's taking him down.
which is normally caught on the outside.
He's attempting to crush this man's leg. Oh, Beneteau kicks him in the head before he taps.
Those sneaky Russians.
Taps to the inverted heel hook. Very beautiful setup from Oleg Taktarov.
The final fight of the opening round featured Keith Hackney,
Keith Hackney,
the Giant Killer,
the Giant Killer,
whom I would have matched with Paul Varelans,
the White Tiger,
the Giant.
2-1 in UFC competition. His only loss, other than Royce Gracie, has been himself. And the unofficial,
Instead,
ultimate
taking on the
tournament
king of the
favorite,
streets, Marco Ruas.
the king of the streets, Marco Ruas, the ageless Brazilian legend. He looks like he's about to go to the beach in a black Speedo. Oh, he's got knee wraps. He's about to go surfing. And that is about as calm as he looks, as though he was staring down a wave. And the action begins. Ruas circling out immediately to the right. Hackney tentatively taking the center. Ruas coming in with some feints. Following the jab, goes for the low kick immediately. With a high guard. Circling out to his right now for Keith Hackney. In this strange Kempo footwork. Oh, Hackney delivers a solid low kick. Ruas feints in. Hackney darts out. Ruas switching stances. Now back to orthodox. Ruas so lackluster. Ruas feinting in. Quite cautious. Ruas coming in with the low kick. Resets his stance before Hackney can counter. Hackney does not attempt to counter. Hackney attempt to come over the top of the left hand. The low kick whiffs for Hackney. Ruas attempting to come in. A couple of jabs he pumps. Hackney big attack over the top, but Ruas darts right out of range. Ruas shoots in for the clinch. Oh, he takes it. Hackney's back against the fence. In the standing clinch. Ruas is attempting to get a standing choke here. No, he's taken his back, and he's peeled him away from the cage. He has the back mount. He's rolled Hackney over. He's got the flattened back mount, and he's punching Hackney in the ear. Punching Hackney in the nape of the neck. Marco Ruas now with the flattened back mount. Hackney attempting to hook over the hands to save himself. Of course, this will leave Ruas no option to go for the choke. Ruas dropping again the back of the head. Ruas has pinned Hackney in the flattened back mount. He's sawing his arm under, going for the choke. Ruas snaking that arm in. And Hackney taps. Marco Ruas wins by rear naked choke. And the king of the streets bows to his opponent. And they hug. How cute.
The level of excitement would begin to drop considerably in later rounds, due in part to the extreme elevation. There would be a lot of circling and what you might call holding positions. This was the first show to include a panel of judges, in the event that a fight go the allotted distance, which was 18 minutes of continuous fighting in the thin Denver air. In my memory, they had little octagon-shaped paddles, like little dry erase boards they would mark on. Just the name of the winner in their own hand, like you might expect judges to do at a third-grade talent show. For the semifinals, the first match begins. Tank Abbott versus Dan Severn. In yellow shoes. Exciting in the early goings. With a wide stance. Very early goings. Severn shoots, sprawled on easily by Abbott. He's got him in the He's trying to throw some body punches here in the front headlock position as he postures up for a knee. Dan Severn quickly degenerated against what Tank himself has described as a nightmare of being raped by Freddie Mercury. He's got a classic Greco clinch, attempting to take Tank to the mat. Tank has often conflated sex and violence. Abbott, a heavy whizzer over a deep underhook. See gripping a bar brawl and into the trapezoid. Oh, there we go. Severn has him to the mat. Tank immediately rolls to his belly. Severn attempting to flatten Tank Abbott out. Rabbit punches to the back of the neck and a big knee into the midsection. More heavy punches. 12 to 6 elbows into the nape of the neck. Severn, gripping the fence on the far side to prevent Abbott from escaping, is just clubbing and elbowing the nape of the neck of Tank Abbott. More elbows over the top from the beast Dan Severn. As Tank attempts to stand, he is having no success at all with that. Pinned against the fence here. Severn has described his own experience of this fight. In the front headlock position now, as he's gotten his head away from the fence. Tank Abbott being dragged down to the mat and kneed in the head. Seeing Abbott as Severn pure evil, jumps to take his back. Again, he has him pinned against the fence. His side along the fence here. Elbows down to the back of the neck. He allowed himself the gratuitous grace of fighting malice with malice and torture Tank with a relentless onslaught. Severn using ankle picks, flattening out Tank Abbott, grips on the far side of the chain link. Against the chain link fence. Big knee into the midsection, out-wrestled by a world-class heavyweight. From the beast, Tank took an inordinate. Elbows, so far the only offense of this fight other than in the opening seconds. It's been all Dan Severn. Incalculable number of blows that, by these standards, were just vicious. Oh, clubbing shots from the beast over the top to the dome. Oh, he's cranking a cross face on Tank Abbott here. Tank Abbott being mauled against the chain link. Big knees to the midsection. Punches and elbows into the ear and neck. Helpless against the chain link. But by every regulatory rule set that would ever be set forth by any state in America, Dan Severn controlling the posture of Tank Abbott here against the chain link with just basic wrestling technique. Big slaps to the head. Many of these attacks would be considered grounds for immediate disqualification. Devastating elbows to the back of the head here from Dan Severn. I can't count the number of times he's just smashed him in the brainstem with the point of his elbow. Severn has Tank flattened out now against the mat. He's cranking a half Nelson. Tank appears only to respond when threatened. Big downward elbows into the nape of the neck. Dan Severn is just mauling this man here, who is not even defending himself really. He's just covering up and changing positions whenever he gets into a point of desperation. A thumping shot, 2 clubs over the top, land for Dan Severn against the skull of D.L. Abbott, who is breathless on the mat, being pummeled, unable to stand. Severn clubbing the ear, Severn elbowing the nape of the neck. A big right hand lands on the jaw for Dan Severn. Another cross-face submission attempt. Tank pulls out of it. Tank Abbott, lifeless on the canvas, not responding to the drubbing he is taking about the head and neck. Abbott attempted to turn over. He's having no success whatsoever. He's getting punched in the head now against the fence by the Beast. A big knee lands for the Beast, smashing into the face of Tank Abbott. Punches and big knees landing for Severn, who's using the fence to pull his entire body into Tank, slamming his knee into the chin. Big punches down the fencing. Tank once again turns his belly down. Big knees landing for Dan Severn to the body and head along the fencing as he maintains grips on the cage. Over the back of Tank Abbott, on his hands and knees, absorbing punishment, attempting a minimal defense. Abbott once again completely flattened on the mat. The Beast boxing his ears. Tank Abbott in a pathetic display of what one might call the Slug Guard, the Jabba the Hutt defense. Tank Abbott literally doing nothing. Being beaten in the back of the head and neck, occasionally attempting to turn his head to mitigate the damage. Hovering up with his fingers, while Severn is just beating, elbowing, slapping, and kneeing the lifeless body of Tank Abbott. Oh, big elbows over the top for Dan Severn, opening up some opportunities here. Slap elbow combinations as he's working the body with knees. Headbutts to the back of the head, while the slug defense is using some ghost taps and just praying for the round to end. There's about 4.5 minutes of an ass whooping left, as Tank Abbott lays lifeless, face down, as the Beast works various angles, slapping, elbowing, punching or kneeing, whatever opening presents itself. About 3.5 minutes left now. Tank Abbott just holding on. Helpless here. Tank stands in the back clinch, standing back clinch. He's got his hands gripped on the chain link. Oh, a back elbow almost lands for him. Dan Severn hides his head between the shoulder blades. A back headbutt does not land for Tank Abbott. Here in the standing back clinch, Dan Severn is trying to throw. Oh, Tank trying an inside heel trip. It is nothing. He is completely outclassed in that regard. The Beast attempting to throw. Tank with double grips on the chain links. He's taking knee after knee in the thigh and abdomen from the Beast, who is desperately attempting to yank him off of this fence. Tank Abbott, fatigued and desperate, needs just one big shot to turn this fight around, and he has about 2 minutes to do it in. 1.5 minutes maybe. Here we are, stuck in prison yard romance mount. Severn attempting to peel the grips away with a body lock. He's kneeing the ass, kneeing the hips, kneeing the thighs. Tank Abbott. Let go of that fence, motherfucker. We want to see you fly. Sloppy work along the fence as Tank Abbott is collapsing this way and that, attempting to surprise Severn and spin out for one big shot. We've got about 30 seconds left here. Abbott jerking backwards, attempting to land a reverse headbutt, which we all know ain't shit. Severn, a big pull, attempting to peel Tank away, bows the cage in. Oh, he lets go. He turns out he's prancing away as Abbott takes the center, exhausted, attempting to land a haymaker. Dan Severn still spry with his footwork as he ducks under a left hook, and Tank sprawls to avoid another takedown as the round ends, as the fight ends. The Beast, raising his hands in victory, he's moving on to the final. Well, presumably, we haven't seen the little scorecards here, the whiteboards. Alright, Big John McCarthy's taking the fighters to the center. Or at least, oh no, Tank Abbott is climbing over the cage and walking off. And the whiteboards all say, Dan Severn. And the action begins. The second semifinal fight featured Oleg Taktarov and Marco Ruas. Circling away, Taktarov taking the center. Low kick lands for Marco Ruas. They were both slow starters. He was circling away on the outside. He fakes a jab as he comes in, another low kick as Taktarov shoots in. He's got nothing though. And conservative, defensively minded fighters. Taktarov showing some feints. Ruas checks a takedown attempt and counters with a low kick on the outside. Another one lands for him. Taktarov attempting to grab the heel on the way out, but he's having no luck with that. He comes in with a straight left, but Ruas slips, attempting to escape, moving laterally along the fence perimeter. Oh, nice low kick lands again for Ruas, attempting to take out the leg of the Russian band, who is stalking him down now with a little more impetus. Feints in. He's attempting to trap him against the fence, but the footwork of the Brazilian is just too good. They like to set up a trap and coax the opponent into it to catch an easier finish rather than force the fight into their own favor. Ruas feints a jab. Oleg backs out. Oleg comes in, but he needs to adjust his knee pads. And there's already some discoloration on his lead leg from the handful of low kicks landed by the Brazilian. Oleg slapping his way into the clinch. He's got Ruas's back against the fence now in the standing clinch, and he's got double grips on the chain links to prevent the escape. Ruas attempting to turn out, but of course, the grips are too tight. The referee employing the work Oleg, a right hand over the top, into the side of the head of Ruas, pinned against the fence, who is stomping the toes now. It's one of his special moves. Oleg, a big overhook. He's thinking about letting go of the cage with both hands here as he's maintaining. Oh, he rolls firm leg, of course. He's almost got the leg locked out, but Ruas hides it behind his calf. Oleg needs to transition to the calf crank here, but he's getting flattened out by the Brazilian against the chain link. Due to the lack of impetus in either man's style, he's attempting to sit up on his side and guard here. He's got sort of a reverse half guard. He pulls out. He's got butterflies. His head is along the fence. Oleg Taktarov. And Ruas punches. Ruas still low in the guard of the Russian. It was not especially memorable. Grips on the fence to prevent Oleg from turning out, except for a single act that would immediately turn the tide. Ruas using the butterfly hooks under Ruas's hips. Taktarov reaching up deep. Oh, he grabs the fence to stand. He's now standing, his back against the fence as he has escaped Ruas. When Taktarov pulled himself up from the bottom by the fence, and they break and meet again in the center of the octagon trademark. It was kind of epic. The referee implores them to get it going. Especially in this era. So far, no action, neither fighter taking a step forward. Oh, a low kick does not land for Ruas as Taktarov backs out. Taktarov's face a little bloody. The wall of the cage was an extreme environmental influence. Low kick lands for Ruas. It ground the pace of the fight and the base of the fighter and was generally used as a defensive tool. Oleg stepping in with a kick of his own. A crutch to stall the action. Oleg shooting in, but Marco Ruas sprawls easily and backs out. Using that lateral footwork, he's circling. Oh, Oleg attempted to come in with the scissor sweep and attack the leg, but Ruas pulls straight out. The referee implores him to get working. Ruas attempts to land another low kick on the outside. Oleg coming in with a left hook combination. Another. Now he's punched his way into a guillotine choke. He's got the guillotine choke and he pulls guard. Pulling down Marco to the mat. He's got a deep grip on his neck. But Ruas is pretty good about escaping this position. It looks to be an arm-in guillotine along the fence. A good 7 minutes in. Marco Ruas breathing heavily, attempting to break the grip open of the Russian bear as the referee screams at them to work. This is not a dangerous choke, but it appears to be at least a threat. We're moved a little away from the fence now, but there's no increased danger in the choke. The referee implores him to work again. They're both just breathing heavily here in this position. Oleg is let go and punched the nape of the neck. Another final warning issued by Big John McCarthy, imploring the fighters to work. Another final warning. Alright, finally, he pulls the fighters to their feet. He literally pulls the fighters to their feet, sends them off to their corners. He's having the doctor come look at the cut now. Dr. Richard Istrico, octagon side physician. They wipe off the blood and restart the action. No, he's pushing the Russian back in his corner. And the fight begins again. The crowd deeply upset that the hold was broken, but it was no threat. Ruas backing away along the perimeter to his left as Oleg stalks in, attempting to land a left hook, a wide Russian hook with the thumb down as the crowd begins to chant for Oleg. Ruas lands an outside low kick again. Oleg trudging into the defense of Marco Ruas, pumping jabs. Oleg comes in and kicks him in the nuts. Another solid outside low kick lands for the king of the streets. But Oleg is not limping on his leg. wonder how many times I've said the word leg. Oh, another low kick. Oleg comes in with his own inside, slapping Ruas's thigh with his foot. Another one, almost an oblique kick, a low line side. But Ruas is again refusing to engage at all, merely backing away. Palms out to parry. Oleg attempting to come in, Ruas always rebuffing him. Pulling away. Feinting offense and circling out of the pocket. Ruas feinting a jab for no reason. Low kick lands. He's just attempting to chop out that leg with the low kick. Does Ruas have enough time? About 5 minutes. This would be the first even remotely controversial decision. Oleg coming in with the inside low kicks. Ruas returning the outside low kick. Again, outside low kick landing for the king of the streets. Clearly it is bothering the Russian, but he does not stop his advance. The crowd booing heavily, bringing into question the criteria by which the judges were using to determine the name they'd squiggle on the little octagonal board. Oleg attempting to come in with that wide Russian hook. Ruas still spry enough to dart out, as the disparity in mobility is only growing larger. Undeterred aggression, it appeared, was valued above damage. And how the fight ends, more important than the fight as a whole. The referee imploring them to work again. Oleg coming in with a two-punch combination, but Ruas just backing out. He attempts a shot, a single on the lead leg of Ruas, sprawls, backs away. All Oleg can land when he comes in are slapping low kicks, which can be returned with a much heavier kick from Ruas. Ruas getting another one in there. But as Don the Dragon Wilson would repeatedly reiterate, Oleg throwing that left in, as Ruas lands another low kick, backing away. The crowd boos. Well, some whistle. You can't win a fight without attacking, in some form. Fabian tactics from the Brazilian, absolutely refusing to engage. He's just leading Taktarov on a tour of the octagon trademark. Oh, here we go. Oleg, a risky move, lands on his back attempting to go for a leg. Ruas still doesn't close the distance and attack, allowing him to his feet. For the last half of the fight, they continue the tour. Marco Ruas rested. Ruas glances at the clock. Stalled. About 2 minutes left, sir. Do something. And offered only defensive options when Oleg's offense plodded past his muddy footwork like the Red Army through Rasputitsa. Another solid low kick lands for the king of the streets at the impetus of the referee, who says, "Let's get going." Oleg shooting it again, Ruas backing out, missing his opportunity to counter. A solid right hand lands for Taktarov as he steps in, absolutely refusing to relent. Oh, another low kick for Ruas. Oleg appears undamaged, unfazed, undeterred. He steps in with a snap kick. Ruas blocks. Oh, disgraceful kick attempted from the Russian. He's pumping out a jab now. Ruas just avoiding, running, backing off. He attempts another low kick, but it's actually checked by the Russian this time. The referee implores him to work. Oleg steps in with the left jab that lands, but Ruas is backing off. It's mitigated. Ruas coming in. He gets another low kick that drops Taktarov. He's trying to hook a leg in, trying to pull him into the guard. Ruas figured that he was ahead at this point. Low kicked and cruised through the rest of the semifinal round. Ruas backing away and blocking only. Strategically saving his energy for the final fight against the beast, Dan Severn. Right hand by Taktarov sneaks in. In the final moments of the bout, Ruas is dancing away. Taktarov drops his hands in the center, cocks his head and gives him a what the fuck. The crowd booing. And so it will go to the judges' whiteboard scorecards. The cut man Leon Tabs attending Taktarov, but he would not get that opportunity. Superficial wounds along his face, because all three of the judges had squiggled Oleg Taktarov's name on their whiteboards. The greasy king of the streets. Oh, all three whiteboards. Oleg Taktarov wins unanimous decision. And the crowd is elated. Taktarov on his knees in the middle of the octagon, trademark. In the final, a match that would last 27 minutes before a 3-minute overtime, far too long for its own entertainment value, had one exciting series of action, with Taktarov giving everything he had to Nibar Severn, who miraculously escaped and then assumed dominant position, grinding all following offensive offers into oblivion. I don't know what else anyone could have expected, being that these men were fighting a mile above sea level and for the third time of the evening, both having gone the distance in the semi-final round against particularly tough competition. And the action begins again. In the overtime, the competitors walk slowly to the center, both absolutely exhausted. Dan Severn attempting to clear his nose. Oleg's eyes swollen, nearly closed. Severn attempts to play it safe and box with Oleg from the outside. Severn, a left hand over the top, bounces off of Oleg's skull as he stumbles backward a few steps, re-engages with the left, coming after Dan Severn now. Always coming into the clinch. He's countered with a right hook from Dan as he's backing off in a southpaw stance. He slips a jab from Oleg. They're patty fighting now, nearly windmilling in the last moments, a skill set he would never have sharpened to a fine point. Maybe they're trying to get their thumbs in there. Oh, Dan Severn lands a good right hook on the exit of that exchange. Oleg stalking him down, but one he could execute well enough to stifle anything Taktarov could. Yep, Dan Severn jabbing in with his possibly right. Muster this late into the night, keeping Oleg at bay. He's circling out to the outside, attempting to get that lead foot in the dominant position. Now he's circling back the other way. I don't know. Right now he's circling correctly. No, now he's circling. What is Dan Severn doing here? Attempting a 1-2, Oleg backs out. There's a solid minute of this fight left here, and I expect no further action. Oleg attempting to roll under for a leg. He gets nothing. Oh, Severn sits him back down with a sharp right hand. An opportunistic attack. Shoots in and out of the pocket. Severn circling out. Oleg backing away. Severn attempting to land another jab. Oleg parrying. Oleg covers up a 1-2 combination. Dan another 3-punch combination. Nothing getting through. Dan Severn dancing away in the final moments here. Taktarov attempting another leg. Severn spins away, refusing to engage. As Oleg refuses to attack, he throws a right cross at the final moment, but he is dejected, depressed. He has accepted his defeat, and the beast rejoicing before the little whiteboards are even revealed. He's got 150,000 reasons to celebrate, as he has taken down everyone in the tournament field, tough enough to get to it. And the titles are up from the judges. A unanimous decision, Dan Severn, the winner of the Ultimate and the Ultimate Fighting Champion.
Next time on the Cage of History.
Following their 2 courtroom struggles to put on UFC 8 in Bayamon, UFC 9 would also suffer litigation, with SEG forced to argue their case in court on the very day of the event. After coming to the conclusion that illegalizing headbutts and closed fist punches to the head would prevent the event from being classifiable as boxing, thus falling outside the jurisdiction of the Michigan Athletic Commission, Bob Meyerowitz agreed to the judge's terms and walked out of the courtroom as fast as possible. It was 4:30 in the afternoon. Once they were in the open air, on the steps of the courthouse, I imagine, Big John McCarthy, bewildered, asks Bob Meyerowitz how in the hell they're supposed to run the event under this rule set, and allegedly he responds, quote, "I didn't say there wasn't going to be any punching. I just said I'd make it illegal. When they punch, you're going to tell them that's illegal, and you're going to have to fine them eventually. When they have to pay that fine, only God knows." End quote.
Episode 5. Out of Control.